Hello.
Hello, hello, hello. How are you?
Hi there. It looks like someone's on holiday.
Yeah, we are at the beach this week. My wife and myself, and we all came over. So
Very nice.
good. Yeah,
For, for
it's a lot of
research.
fun. This is actually, believe it or not, the Jersey Shore, and
Uh-huh.
there's a small town called Cape May at the south of New Jersey.
Hmm.
So, and we were in New York, so we just drove all the way and decided to spend a week, um, over here.
Very nice.
So I set up, I was going to set up inside, but if this is too noisy or windy or something like that, then tell me and then I'll move in. Okay.
No, it sounds absolutely fine. Would it be possible for you to move the camera down just a little bit?
Oh, sure, 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 sure. There you go. Is that better?
That that's perfect. Yeah, looks good, sounds good. Perfect.
Yeah, I
I've
wasn't
got-
sure. I could see myself completely, but I'm sure it wasn't coming
Yeah,
across that way. So
brilliant.
have you?
Yeah. So we eventually managed to get ourselves in the same time zone. We had a little bit of a difficulty.
Yeah, I'm sorry about that last time. I was almost certain. I Googled it 3 times and it said 3 p.m. I said, oh, interesting. Okay, well, it is 3 p.m. and it was supposed to be 2 p.m.
Yeah, I think it's something to do with the time elements. I'm
I
sure people
know.
will understand.
So great.
Excellent.
Good,
So
good
yeah,
job on,
so
I said, good
so-
job on your book club. I've been following you. You're doing a great job. Thank you.
thanks very much. Nice to know that you enjoy it.
Yep,
So we're here today to talk about your new book, Masters of the Broken Watches. I've got my
of
copy
course.
here.
I got it here too.
There it is. First of all, absolutely beautiful cover. That was the first thing that drew me in. Look at that
Thank
cover.
you. Yeah, a friend of mine connected me to the designer who actually designed the cover, and she was such a sweetheart person to work with. She really went through 11 different iterations of the cover with me. Yeah.
Wow.
So yeah, and she didn't give up till we knew exactly what we wanted.
Yeah, you've definitely come up with a winner. Very nice.
Thank you.
So would you like to give everybody watching a brief overview of what the book's about?
Oh, sure, sure. Um, so as the cover actually points out, and the reason why we had 11 iterations of it is because this book is actually uh, not a single dimensional science fiction. You know, science fiction usually is very interesting and people love it, but I find them to be just one dimensional about, the science and, the fiction itself. What I was hoping to write this was a combination, a cross section of science fiction with human ingenuity and a little bit of political thriller, and of course an action adventure. So if somebody reads this book, they would have a difficult time, categorizing it. They won't know if it's an action adventure, or if it's a political thriller, or is it a romance, or is it a sci-fi?
Yeah, exactly. And that was actually going to be my first question. There's so many different genres that it's impossible to classify.
It is. It is impossible to classify, and that's going to be the theme of the books that I do write. It's my first debut novel, as you know,
Hmm.
and the idea was actually stemming for a couple of years in my mind, where I kept feeling that we as humans experience different aspects of time, and we've all experienced it. Like going to the airport, and you will miss the flight. You are 100% sure you'll miss the flight, and
Yeah,
yet you reach there on time, and you stand
yeah,
at the gate and say, "How did this happen?" It's as if the time stretches itself. So
yeah.
I looked at those components of time, and I said, what if instead of making a time travel story, which is a very exciting and people love about time travel, going to the future, going to the past, I said, what if we were able to, if, you know, create a story that was about time itself and
Hmm.
controlling time? Because, imagine that resource if you had the time.
Yeah. Yeah, and I absolutely love the fact that it really gets you thinking about, other possibilities for things, other than how we live just now.
Exactly. And the key background of myself and the way I write is, um, I want the science to be believable. I
Yeah.
want somebody to read the book, and my readers are sending me notes and saying, I wish this was true. I wish this was true. And that is such a great comment because, it's almost at the edge of maybe this is happening or could happen.
Mm-hmm.
And if you feel that way, because the experiences that we all face, like being at the right place at the right time, how many
Yeah,
times it's happened, you're searching for one person or you're trying to get in touch and that same person is standing behind you in a line, like,
yeah,
had that happen. So
yeah.
yeah, it's been a fun ride for me, and my books will be about that whole experience, human experiences. The next one that I'm writing, Michael, you'll be the first one to know about this because I haven't talked about it to anybody, but
Exclusive.
it's exclusive. It's called Masters of the Vanishing Walls, and the beauty, has it ever happened to you? It has happened to me many, many times, and my wife swears that it's my forgetfulness that happens. But I can bank $100 on this. I leave my keychain or my keys on the table,
Yeah.
and I come back and they're gone
all the time.
all the time. And then I search everywhere, and I come back again, only to find out they're right there.
Yeah.
Has that happened to you?
Oh, I'm the worst for losing things.
Exactly.
and that,
So
and I,
it,
yeah, it's not my fault.
it's not your fault. It's so what so I've taken this experiences of people where things just vanish and then come back,
Yeah,
and that's going to be the second book.
yeah. I love the title and I love the premise. And just like your first one, I guess, you put so much thought into something that's quite a simple concept.
Exactly, and it should be somebody. So all my five books will be all about human reality, like believability. Like, okay, this has happened to me, so I know it happens, and so that brings the realism to the book.
Hmm.
And then the science explains it, and then the adventure drags you into the book.
Yeah.
Hopefully, that's my
Yeah.
goal. I don't know if I can. I'll be able to succeed in writing my second, third books, but we'll see.
Well, if it's anything as good as the first one,
Yeah, my wife knows that I'm not necessarily an avid reader. I'm an avid reader of nonfiction. I read a lot of
Mhm.
books about business and entrepreneurship and science and technology. And when I said I'm going to write a novel, she started smiling. She said, smiling, I'm being kind. She was a little laughing a little bit and said, really? And I said, I think I can write a novel. And I sat down to pen it down, and then I said, okay, let's figure this out in detail
Yeah.
and the components of it. And it took me 4 years, but I wrote it.
Yeah. Well, I was going to say that because you've already produced a non-fiction book, which was a motivation type book. How did you find
Yes.
that transition? Was it a lot different?
Yes, it is very different. The first book is a motivational book, and it was written in 2010. It was published by John Wiley, and the book did reasonably well. And in that book, there are five chapters that are fictional chapters. So
Hmm.
what happened was, I said, and writing those five chapters were the most intriguing and exciting piece of writing the entire book. So
Yeah.
I had not recognized that desire in me to write fiction at that time.
Yeah.
So in 2016, I was sitting. We used to live in suburbia of Pittsburgh, beautiful town, and
Hmm.
after living there for 17, 20 years, we sold our place and we bought a condo on in the city overlooking the. I don't know if you know anything about Pittsburgh. It's a beautiful city that have confluences of three rivers that combine. Okay,
Right.
and what ended up happening was I sat there. The condo overlooks the water, and at 8 o'clock in the morning, I got up early, about 7 or 6:30 or something, and I was sitting there, and the Master of the Broken Watches, the idea started to blossom, the
Right.
concept. And by 10 o'clock that day, when my wife walked up and said, "What's happening?" I said, "I think I have my second book." The entire 20 chapters just went
Wow.
boom, 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 boom. Yeah.
That's fantastic.
I can only explain it that way. I know it sounds cheesy, and weird that, how could that happen? But it did
Yeah,
happen to me. So, yeah,
that's
it was,
brilliant. Yeah.
yeah. And then the nice thing about writing books this time, and people who are watching would find it fascinating, is that the research is quite doable now. You know,
Yeah.
like every location that I have in the book, either I was able to visit
Hmm.
or I was able to find out a lot about it. So the locations in the book are real. The what do you call, places are real. The where the team jogs, and the
Yeah.
murals are real. Restaurants are real. So every place is actual place that
Hmm.
people can actually go and visit and have a cup of coffee.
That's brilliant. And I think that really shows because there's a real sense of place in the book.
It is, and the thing about it is also that I believe in diversity a lot. I
Hmm.
believe that diversity is truly the reason why we are so creative, you know,
Yeah.
as humanity. And I think that my books hopefully will share the diverse cultures, the
Hmm.
recipes, the places that you could go and visit, and see a fishing village in Vietnam, how they live, how they eat, what's their life look like. And you'll be fascinated by that, like you say, wow.
Oh, yeah, that it definitely shows in things like you say, like the food, the detail that you put in there. It's a kick that you say that sounds really tasty.
True, true. Yeah. Can you hear me now? You
Yeah,
froze up a little bit, so I wasn't sure.
yeah. So I think you mentioned somewhere at the back of the book that the cooking recipes they weren't your own, but you were maybe inspired during your research.
Yep, absolutely. The recipes have been my own. I completely invented them. But these days with all the British baking shows and cooking
Yeah.
shows and this and that, and you kind of like watch those shows. And then my family is very much into cooking. Both my sisters are amazing chefs. My brother, he lives in London. He's an amazing chef, and of course my wife, who is incredible. And I don't make. I'm not. It's not my passion. I can make
Yeah.
stuff, but it's not my passion. But when I was writing this, I wanted to create breaks in the book, in the story,
Hmm.
and to create the breaks in the story, you could change the scene.
Yeah.
Or what I know in psychology, they say that if you are working hard and you are fully concentrated, people think that to take a break is go sit by the beach and relax. The problem with that is your mind doesn't shut off. Okay, so what you have to do is you have to do another active thing. Okay,
Yeah.
so what I did was I created these recipes. So the idea is that the team is going through this action adventure, and then they break the adventure, not because they want to relax, but they
Yeah.
create a meal together. And when
Hmm.
they create a meal together, it brings camaraderie, and
Yeah.
it bonds people really well.
Yeah. Yeah. That aspect of it was really well done. What I wanted to say to you as well is there's a lot of love in the book. Love and affection and friendship. This isn't normally the type of book where you would expect to see that type of romantic element, but it's not just because there's a bit of romance in there, but there's also, the elderly Vietnamese couple who they've been together for so long, and there's so much love between them. Did you
Exactly.
set out to put those type of character relationships in the book?
Yeah, I believe that that was the diversity of characters, and bringing that kind of challenge and that romance in the life of Pham Khai and Min was very, very important, because I think that gave the heart to the
Yeah.
book. Like everybody's saying, this book has a lot of heart. Well, where
Hmm.
does the heart come from? It comes from emotions, right? And
Yeah.
where can an emotion come from? An emotion comes from love,
Hmm.
mostly. And of course, fear and other emotions. But my thing was, if I created this pair that was deeply in love, they're a husband and wife, they've been married for 40 years, and they don't have kids, and that's all they have. They have just two, and
Yeah.
they're very, very, yeah, uh, I would say even marginalized type of group because they don't have a lot in their
Yeah.
lives, and yet they're happy because they have the two of them. And then one of them is going to go through a difficult time, and then the other one has to somehow figure out a way to protect the other. So that was the whole scene that I created in my mind. And hopefully my second book will have similar elements too, if
Mhm.
I can pull that off.
I'm sure you can. Yeah,
We'll see.
yeah. And the good thing is that the characters are very three-dimensional. Um, there's other themes in there such as redemption. We've got
Yes.
characters who have moral dilemmas. They're torn between what their country wants them to do and what they feel is the right thing to do. And I think that gives the book quite a lot of momentum.
True. I'm so glad, Michael, you said that because I was hoping people would catch that. And I think you're one of the few people who actually mentioned what you just said. Because, creating a villain is very easy. You make
Yeah,
that villain do bad stuff, and that person everybody hates.
yeah,
But my goal was to create a villain that people would hate but understand.
yeah.
You see, they would absolutely understand because they would know that he's not necessarily coming from a bad place. He's
Hmm.
coming from a place of principles and moral values, basically.
Yeah,
Whether they're twisted values doesn't matter. But they are values.
yeah.
So that was a great point. My villains are very not single dimensional people.
Hmm.
Yeah, but I had to really reduce it down because I wasn't sure how big. My first novel, I had no idea if I should write 100,000 word novel or 200,000 word. My first draft of this novel was 274,000 words.
Wow.
Yeah, and then when I shared it with professionals in the publishing industry, they said a first novel should be at least just 100,000 or less.
Yeah.
So I had to reduce a lot of character, elements, which will happen in second and third and fourth books, I'm sure, because that's how I'll build these characters. But the key question is the key element is each character
Hmm.
had to have a multiple dimension to them,
Yeah,
and especially the villains.
yeah. I can understand why it was so big to start with because it's clearly bursting at the seams with ideas. And my favourite aspect of it was the time device itself, because I won't give too much away, but when they find the device, it, each side of it manipulates time in a different way. And when I read the first one and how time changed,
Yeah,
there was so much excitement to find out what the next one does, what the next one does, and that was a lot
that
of fun.
it is. And look at all six things happen to us, right? In one way or the other. Deja vu
Yeah.
happens to us. Being at the right place at the right time happens to us. Time dilates. Time shrinks when we're having fun. Time
Hmm.
extends when we're sitting in a dentist place. It's like, oh my God, I thought it was 30 minutes. It's been 2 hours, or it feels that way. So time plays a very significant part in our lives, and yet we don't know much about it. So
Yeah.
yeah, that's one of the reasons why I wrote the book on time. And the bigger uh, quest that I'm searching for, or not searching, I'm hoping to achieve. And
Hmm.
again, this is an audacious goal. The likelihood of me achieving is very, very low. That I want to inspire, hopefully, the readers to get involved in, getting involved with the bigger problems in our lives, in the
Yeah.
world. And that is what if somebody asked me what is this book about, that's what I would say. That
Hmm.
you would have the time to solve the ocean pollution. You'll have the time to solve humanity's issues, basically.
Yeah.
And that's why the second, third, and fourth books would be like that.
Yeah. And I guess the
So
point you
we'll
make
see.
as well when you're talking about the villains is that no one's 100% good and no one's 100% bad, and it's that variance that makes it really interesting.
Exactly. I think yeah. If you look at every human person, a villain is a villain, no question about it. It's got twisted values, and if something is broken in their mind, that's unfortunate, and that is a reality. But the thing about, um, in true sense, people are trying to do what they think they have been told to do.
Yeah.
basically they're following orders
Hmm.
in the army or in the military. They're following orders. They don't, you know, if you meet them one on one, they probably would say, I didn't know what to do.
Yeah.
You see. So yeah, it's been a fun aspect of putting it. The challenge, the bigger challenge I find in writing books now, again, this is my naiveness. Had I known, I would have probably not embarked on this, is the distribution and the marketing of a book.
Right.
And that's why I started with thanking you, because you see, it's people like yourself who are doing good for this industry, because we need
Hmm.
people like yourself who would, you know, read books and talk about them,
Hmm.
because as a writer, we don't have, you know, the budgets of, you know, like if you are like Michelle Obama, whose name just sells, you know, like
Yeah.
she'll write a book, it'll be instant book, you know, it'll be a great book and it'll be a great bookseller and she'll be on morning news and stuff. But people like myself who have absolutely no name recognition,
Hmm.
how, and but the content is there, it's great.
Yeah.
How do we get it out? Thanks to the democratizing, I would say, of people like yourself who made it possible to do these kinds of events so that people can find out about their books. So
Hmm.
that is the hard thing.
Yeah. Yeah. I can imagine, and that's exactly why I like to do this, because, as you said, the content's there. I read this. For me, it's definitely a 5-star read. There's no doubt about it. And but people, how are people going to get to know about it if, you know, if we don't share and do this kind of thing?
Exactly. And that is why I wish more people did it. And what I'm loving about this experience also is people love reading books.
Hmm.
And I love that. That is, you know, it transforms them into a different world, and they're passionate about it and they love reading it. So I'm happy
Yeah.
that we have this this ex, this expression of joy has not disappeared because
Yeah.
of, you know, technology and Facebook, you know, and you know the social stuff that we all are addicted to. At least I am. I'm always checking my
Yeah.
Facebook and my WhatsApp and stuff
Yeah.
like that.
Yeah. We've just got a comment there that says it was definitely a beautiful read.
Well, thank you very much. That's very kind of you.
Yeah.
I'm glad. You know, you enjoyed it, and thank you very much for sharing that comment. And you know, yeah,
I want to say that while we're talking about thanks, one of my favourite parts of the book was actually your thanks at the end. It was probably one of the most entertaining and heartfelt that I've read, and it really showed that the book was a real family affair.
yes, it was. The my daughters helped me. Um, See, my ability to write sentences in English. If I sent you an email, Michael, you'll notice it'll have 3 grammar mistakes and 2 spelling mistakes. Okay, so it's almost as if, you know, it's hard for me to write, and so but I wasn't afraid. I said, okay, so what? I'll
Yeah.
keep fixing it. I'll keep fixing it. I started writing it, and then my daughters were the first ones to read it, especially my younger one, Zoha. She read it. She gave me her feedback. Then my wife read it. And we were in Spain at that time. And my wife is an avid reader. She reads, you know, all of the major. And I knew if she fell asleep towards the end, then the book lost her. And I was on the train watching her, and she was reading it and reading it. And she said, no, this is actually, she was surprised. She said,
Yeah.
it's not bad. It's not bad. This is the first draft that I wrote. So when I gave my dedication, I gave it to my family because they were the true pillars for me to be able to even do something like that. And friends, of course, and family. So
Yeah.
yeah.
And your
So
brother
you
had to try and read it on his phone with his
so
glasses.
so see, if you notice, my glasses are so thick, and my brother has the same condition. So you know, we are, you know, we can't see at a distance, but
Yeah.
we can see something this close if we take our glasses off. So he didn't. He downloaded the book. It was a PDF at that time, and his for some reason his iPad wasn't working, his computer. So he's holding the phone this way, and he takes
Yeah.
his glasses off, and he's staring it that way. And he read the entire book on uh, on the phone. You know, can you believe that dedication? I mean, I have nothing but, you know, true love for him.
Yeah. That's excellent. So the book's out now.
The book is out. It's available all over the world. It's in bookstores. It's on Amazon. It's in you can, if there's not in bookstore, it's because of COVID, obviously. But
Yeah.
you can go to a bookstore, order it, or you can go to Amazon and order it on Amazon. And yeah, it's all countries have it basically. So yeah,
Brilliant, yeah.
fully available.
Anything else you'd like to mention about the book before we wrap up?
No, I just yeah. I mean, you know me, Michael. I can talk for 3 hours on the book itself. But here's what I would say. One last thing. When you're reading the book, see if you find yourself in the book, in a character. Because my characters are very relatable and
Hmm.
real. These are people that I have studied and come across. They're not like so far out that out of imagination that you can't even imagine that person
Yeah.
to be real, basically. And so when you do read the book, enjoy it because you may find yourself in the book.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a brilliant way to wrap it up.
Well, thank
Okay,
you.
Robert, it's been an
Thank
absolute
you, sir.
pleasure. Thanks for joining us and all the best.
My pleasure, Michael, and hope to continue being interacting with you as we continue going to the
Yes,
next
and
one.
I can't
Okay,
wait to hear news of your sequel.
I will share that with you as soon as I have some more information. Okay,
Okay, thanks again.
thank you, sir. Bye bye.
Bye. Bye.